Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you for joining me for another Hot Topics live stream. Yes, I'm back. I'm committed to doing more content, y'all. Okay. It may not be pre recorded videos, but I am committed. So I'm back and I want to talk about some things that I've been seeing in the media, as always. And we're going to jump right into it because I hate long, drawn out intros. So let's get started with this Daphne Joy situation. I see the girls are talking about it. Oh, let me make sure my mic is okay. I'm sorry. Because I feel like my computer's freezing up a little bit. Why isn't it showing the picture? Oh, there it goes. Okay. So let me know if you guys can hear me by pushing 1 in the chat. Let me just make sure I'm good. Okay, it sounds good on my end, so I'm gonna keep going. But I see the girls talking about this Daphne Joy situation and how Black men are basically like celebrating her, praising her. Meanwhile, they kind of dragged Meg the Stallion for dating and quote unquote being a whore or a hoe, but they're kind of putting Daphne on this pedestal. And so I did put in a clip of a Black woman talking about this. I thought her perspective was spot on. So I'm going to play her video.
I'm gonna tell y'all the real reason Daphne Joy, or whatever her name was able to get on that podcast with Cam and talk about her perfect date and all what the fuck else she want in a man and blah blah blah, and everybody talk about how desirable as a woman she is, even though she was messing with Diddy, even though she was on camera getting fucked by another man while he watched, is because long as you're the preference, niggas do not care if you're a hoe. Like, they act like they hate hoes so much, but they really love hoes, especially when it's their preference. But don't get shit twisted. The way they pedestalize these bitches, the higher they go up, the harder they fall. These are the same bitches that they exploit and turn into baby mamas. But you know why Daphne Joy will forever continue to pander to Black men the way that she has been and always will be? Because the Black men are the only ones that will ever want her. After some shit like that, after some shit like dealing with Diddy and doing all this extra shit, she could never go back to the Asian community. And Black men have low racial self-esteem, so they say shit like, oh, she's classy. Oh, she's this, she's that. This is a professional hoe. No, she a regular hoe. Like, anybody with eyes could see that shit is a sham. That fake classy shit that she doing is a sham. That's a trashy bitch. And then for her to be able to get on the podcast and talk about what her perfect date is, and it's literally Netflix and chill. You know Black men love Netflix and chill. You know, she know just what to say to get their ass. You know what? The same way that Black men fetishize these women is the same way that these women fetishize Black men. That's why it works out perfectly. But don't let men fool you. They don't have a problem with hoes. You just can't be a Black woman. You just can't be a pretty Black woman. You just can't be a successful Black woman. It's Black women that haven't done anything close to what the fuck she's done. And they get a worse rep. Like, Megan Thee Stallion hasn't done shit for real, but just date and be a young woman that knows that she's a bad bitch. And then people have just been crucifying her just for that, just for fucking dating. Do you think Meg could get on a podcast with Cam and talk about Netflix and chill and getting oiled up and putting the AC on and that's her perfect date without niggas crucifying her even some more? But they talking about how feminine Daphne is. What the fuck is feminine about a tacky whore? Like, I can't call her cheap because at least she had her price on point, but that's a tacky bitch. But you know what? She gotta go where she'll be loved at, and she will always be loved with the Black men. So I guess she gotta continue pandering to them. It's working. I'm gonna tell y'all the real reason Daphne Joy.
Okay, so you heard what she had to say, and her handle was in the upper right-hand corner. It goes from the upper right-hand corner to the bottom left. I don't remember what her screen name was, but if you want to follow her, definitely follow her. And yes, for those of you who are saying she's beautiful, yeah, she is definitely beautiful. And everything she said was spot on. And it kind of goes back to the video that I made about Megan Thee Stallion and how Black men, they don't have the same smoke for the non-Black hoes. You know, they don't have the same smoke when the hoe is the preference. So definitely agree with her on this, agree with Black women overall on this. The more unambiguous you are as a Black woman, the more you are penalized for being hypersexual, especially in the Black community. A woman can't even date. Like, a lot of y'all were bringing up like Megan Thee Stallion, Lori Harvey, which they're, you know, especially Lori Harvey, she's more on like the ambiguous side. I know y'all like to argue with me when it comes to that, but because she's, you know, more unambiguous than somebody like Daphne, for example, she's going to get penalized harsher than somebody like her, and so that's just the facts. And I'm glad that more Black women are calling it out. But a Black woman can't even date regularly and have multiple boyfriends over the span of several years without being called a hoe. And so I'm just glad that Black women are picking up on it. The way you are treated when you are a hoe depends on what you look like. Like, that's just what it is. Now, I do want to remind Black women that even though Black men are nicer to non-Black hoes, or the hoes who are the preference, they don't respect them either. Other races of men don't respect non-Black hoes either, which is why, once again, women like Daphne only have perceived value in the Black community, right? And the little perceived value that she has as a woman, Black men are, she's getting that from Black men. So of course she's going to get her money. She's going to go on their platforms. She's going to go on their podcasts. She's going to get paid by them. I listen, I'm not mad at her for getting her money. Okay. I'm not mad at her for getting her money. I saw where she, I think it was DJ Academics, and I did put a screenshot of that in here where I guess someone asked her if she would date him. And she said, yeah. And then DJ Academics, he ate it up, child. He was like, she got good taste in men. I'm like, dude, she would never date you. Like, this is just pandering. It's just so pathetic. Like, she would never date that man, but he ate it up. And so, I think another thing is when men believe they have access to you, whether you're a hoe or not, they're going to put you on a pedestal. A lot of these men, like DJ Academics, he knows he probably doesn't have a chance in hell with Megan Thee Stallion, right? He knows he doesn't have a chance in hell with somebody like Lori Harvey. So they're going to get penalized a little bit harsher. So that's another thing, right? Men treat women based on the access they have to them as well. But they don't respect them either. And so that's the thing. That's the part of this conversation that I thought was missing and why I wanted to talk about it. But be clear, I agree with the commentary on this. You don't see Asian men or white men platforming Daphne Joy. It's only Black men platforming and praising her. And it's you got to think about that, ladies. Black men are the lowest on the totem pole socioeconomically. Collectively, they have the least to offer any woman, regardless of if she's a hoe or not. So you got to think about it. It's really not a flex to be put on a pedestal by them, okay? Nobody cares about Daphne Joy outside of the Black community. Nobody's talking about her. Nobody's praising her. Only people talking about her and praising her is Black men. So that says a lot about them. This is their reputation, and in the eyes of society, that's not a good reputation to have. And yes, there are non-Black men who praise hoes or, praise hypersexual women, but Black men, more than any other race of men, have the reputation for putting the non-Black hoes specifically on a pedestal. And it, in the eyes of other races of men, that they just look stupid. They look like simps. And so I just want Black women to remember that no matter how you slice it, okay, Daphne Joy is not a good look. This is not a good position to be in. I'm sorry. When your reputation is forever what it is, like what her reputation is, being a hoe, being a concubine for Diddy, that's not a flex. That's not a flex. So even though I agree with the Black women in this conversation, it's like, thank God it's not us this time. I'm kind of glad that this is not a Black woman. I'm glad it's her. Even though Black men are putting her on a pedestal, I'm glad it's not one of us. Our image as Black women is already hypersexual enough. So I'm glad that Diddy's concubines aren't really like unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. I'm happy about that personally. You can call me toxic or mean for saying that, but that's how I feel. Black women have enough dings on our reputation. It don't need to be us, okay? I'm tired of that, okay? And like I've said before, a lot of the whole imagery in the media as it pertains to the Black community, a lot of those women aren't unambiguous dark-skinned Black women anyway. We're claiming them, but they're not us for real. When you think about it, think of outside of Sexy Red and Suki Hana, who are all the Black hoes in the Black community who are mainstream? Name them. I'll wait. Most of them aren't even Black. And if they're Black, they're not dark-skinned. And so that's another thing I think Black women need to stop doing. Stop claiming this shit. And so why would you want to be a hoe that Black men put on a pedestal? This is not a flex. This is not a flex. And I just want you to remember that no matter how you slice it, being a hoe is not an ideal position for a woman to be in. Because when you have this kind of sexual history that Daphne has, and you have her reputation, it can be very restricting socially. It can make your life a lot harder than it has to be. So I just want to remind Black women that when you see the preferences getting special treatment, the average woman, Black, white, or otherwise, dark skin, light skin, whatever, they get a lot further in life by not being a whore and not having this reputation and not being hypersexual. They get a lot further than women like Daphne. And that's why she has to do what she's doing. That's why she has to pander to the most raggediest men on the planet. That's why she has to pander to them. Because that's all she can do to make money. To me, that's not a good position to be in, personally. I wouldn't want to be in her position. I know she getting paid nicely. She getting paid handsomely by these men. Don't get me wrong. And again, happy for her to get her money, but I would rather not be in this position. I would rather not have her reputation, personally. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And I think that we as women can learn things from the whore archetype, right? I talk about that. I've talked about that in other videos. But this kind of archetype, having this kind of reputation as a woman, it comes with its disadvantages, just like any other feminine archetype that you take to the extreme, right? And I feel like that's not talked about enough in women's circles online, especially Black female circles. I notice online that a lot of Black women, especially, it's not just Black women, it's white feminists, it's any woman with a feminist mindset, but a lot of y'all talk about the whore archetype like it's an archetype of total freedom and abundance, and like hoes are winning. Like that's actually a phrase that y'all use. Hoes are winning, they winning. And y'all kind of glamorize and romanticize that archetype. And I noticed that a lot of y'all often compare that archetype to like the trad wife archetype, right? And you're like, oh, being a trad wife is so restrictive and the men are just going to control you and it's the patriarchy and that's not a position of power. You don't have your autonomy. And the whores, they have their autonomy. They have their freedom. Do they? Because this does not look like freedom to me. You know, this looks like you have to pander to men and be their concubines and be their sex slaves to get money. That's not freedom. It's not. The whore archetype, and don't get me wrong, there are restrictions that come with the trad wife archetype too, but the whore archetype comes with a lot of restrictions as well. Not only are those women like Daphne consistently exposed to the most insidious sexual nature of a lot of men, which a lot of times makes women like this more vulnerable to violence, because let's just be honest, a lot of men, when it comes to their deep, dark sexual fantasies, they don't want their secrets getting out. And so sometimes those women, that's why you hear about a lot of sex workers getting unalived, and, you know, and it's also strictly a transactional relationship that the whores have with the men. And so that kind of makes them disposable to these men, right? And that can potentially make men more resentful and violent towards them as well. And so they have to deal with that. And then on top of that, these women are also beholden to men in the sense that that their livelihood is dependent upon them and dependent upon sexually performing for them at any moment. Like they're at the whims of these men. Like if a man wants head or they want a specific fantasy fulfilled, like you got to drop what you're doing and you got to go fulfill that fantasy to make your money. Unless you're like a femdom or something like that. Unless you're a financial dom or a findom, I think that's what they call it, right? Unless you're one of those kind of women that controls the man. But the majority of the sex workers, they don't control men. The men control them. And even with the doms and the findoms, like, you have to always perform again. Like, what happens when you don't want to perform one day? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can take breaks or whatever, but they don't always want to do that all the time. And so to me, again, that's not freedom to me, right? But my point in saying all that is this is literally their job, right? Performing a sexual fantasy for these men is their job. So if they don't do that on a regular basis, they don't get paid. So they are dependent on men, ladies, just as the trad wives are, just as the married women are. They're dependent on men too. And it's strange to me that a lot of women don't see this for what it is. So I say all that to say that the solution is not being a whore instead of a trad wife, or being a quote unquote bad girl instead of a good girl. The real solution is occupying an archetype that's somewhere in the middle, where you're some of both. You're some of the bad girl, you're some of the good girl. Right? Because I see that conversation a lot on TikTok, especially. Like, the girls are like, oh, good girls ain't winning, I might as well be bad. Well, if you take being bad to the extreme, you're not going to be winning either. You get what I'm saying? So I think the solution is striking a good balance. Happy mediums do exist. You don't have to go to the extreme of any of these archetypes. And even if you do occupy one archetype more than the other, the solution is not putting yourself in a position where you are completely dependent or beholden to a man for your survival. And I think that should be the conversation, not necessarily like trad wives versus hoes or whatever. Like, I think that's kind of like not a very nuanced, good conversation to have for women. I think it goes beyond that. And so that's just what I thought about when I saw this. And I heard the commentary from women, and especially Black women. And it's like, girl, I get what y'all are saying, but girl, you don't want to be Daphne. You let these niggas uplift they preference hoes. That's fine. Okay. You don't want that position. I promise you don't. And it may be all fun and games for Daphne right now. She may be smiling or whatever, but she don't be wanting to do half of that shit she do for these niggas. She don't want to always be performing sex like that. No woman does. Most women don't want to always do that shit. That's why a lot of the hoes, and even when you think about like women who are strippers and in the entertainment industry who just, provide that sexual fantasy for men, that's why there's always an exit plan for them. They're always like, okay, I'm leaving after I get out of school. I'm in college right now. I'm paying my bills. Y'all saw Players Club. Nobody wants to be an old hoe, but Ronnie and Trix, okay? And even they don't last. Most women don't last in that game. So, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to be an old hoe. Seriously, nobody wants that. And I know y'all gonna be like, Chrissy, you're being misogynistic. You're shaming hoes. I'm just being real about what comes with it. You can be a hoe if you want. Be what you want. I'm just saying, I think we need to stop glamorizing hoes and romanticizing that lifestyle, because it's not romantic and it's not glamorous at all. Let's just be real about that. That's why they be trying to get out. That's why a lot of those women be trying to get out of the lifestyle, and they be suffering with like depression and all kinds of mental illness. And so, if you're going to talk about that lifestyle, tell it all. Just like you expect the trad wives to come on here and be honest about the restrictions and the limitations and the suffering they go through behind the scenes when it comes to being married and being a traditional wife, and, having to ask their husband for everything, and, having to perform for him even when they don't want to. You need to be asking the hoes the same questions. That's all. Yeah, Uniquely Vicky says they do drugs and drink to cope. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's all I had to say about that. I didn't have much commentary. I agree with the girls, but I just think we need to take the conversation a little bit further. That's all. Did I miss any screenshots? Let me see. Yeah, and see, this is a screenshot where she says, business has been booming since the alleged S tape. Did y'all see the S tape? Listen, all my live streams turn into Chrissy After Dark, so I ain't gonna go into detail, but y'all know my freaky ass watched it on X. I watched the sex tape, and I was trying to see if there was like a longer sex tape because it wasn't that long, and I was like, is there a longer one? I want to see the whole thing. I'm nosy, okay? I be wanting to see what the girls be doing. And it's like, I couldn't imagine like being a pass around. I don't care how much money I'm getting. I am not being a concubine for a cuck. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do that. That's crazy. And listen, I'm not a vanilla girl. I'm freaky, y'all know, but that's just crossing the line. Like, no. It didn't look good to me. And then Diddy was running around looking crazy with his little pee-pee in his hands. I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. It was a mess, girl. And Daphne was just sucking, girl. I was like, oh my goodness. She was, sucking off the other man while Diddy was running around with his pee-pee in his hand. Yeah, I saw it's on X. It's probably still up there if y'all want to go. If y'all curious and want to go see it. Just type it in. Type in Diddy S tape. I'm telling you, it'll come up. That's what I did. And I'm because some people were saying, oh, that's AI. That's not real. No, it's real. And I think Daphne admitted to it. So it's not fake. Girl, yeah, it's a mess. I don't know. Listen, I feel like even if they're not outright praising her, I feel like what the girls are picking up on, what Black women are picking up on, is that they're humanizing her a little bit more than they would a Black woman. And that's the thing. It's not really respect, so to speak, but they are humanizing her more, and they're treating her like an actual human being and a person. Even though she was literally busting it open for all these different men for a cuck. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Black Widow says, I don't blame her. Her reputation is her reputation. Yeah, I mean, at this point, what can she do? She has to lean into it. But that's not ideal for any woman. No woman, most women don't want to do that shit. But yeah, so yeah, she's milking this moment because this is her how she gets paid. Again, this is her job. So yeah, she gonna tap in, she gonna pander, she gonna do what she has to. She's capitalizing off of the moment because she has to. And DJ Academics, Cam, even Cam, he might be trying to get some ass. Like they all trying to get some ass, and she's trying to get paid. So it's an even exchange. And see, I think these niggas know that as much as they hypersexualize Black women, as much as they call us hoes, usually for the most part, the Black women they're calling hoes, they can't just get sex from us like that. And that's why they're resentful. That's why they mad. They know they can't go to Megan Thee Stallion and get some ass. They can't do that. DJ Academics ain't gonna get no ass from Megan. So that's another reason. Yeah, and then you got 50 Cent, which is Daphne's baby daddy, or running around here dragging her like she's not a reflection of him. Like, nigga, you had a baby with her. Who does that make you as a man, as a person? You knocked up a hoe, you had a baby with her. So him running around calling her a hoe, making fun of her for being Diddy's concubine, sir, that is the mother of your child. And this is why I say, like, Black men don't be seeing how they look in these situations. Like, you look crazy. You look crazy. And he just feels stupid. That's all. He feels like the trick that he is. And oh well, that's what you signed up for. What you thought that she was gonna like you for you and love you for you? No. She got with you because you 50 Cent. Yeah, they really lack self-awareness. It's really, really bad. Yeah, 50 hurt. He was in love with her. I tend to agree with that. I think so too. Yeah, and it's like Whitney says, I don't like when people weaponize children against the mother. And it's like, how, like, I don't know if they have a son or a daughter together, I don't know, but their kid is gonna see that. And so even if you're ashamed by her actions, like, it's still a reflection of you, and you should be putting your kid first. And so why would you be exposing your baby mama like that on the internet? But see, that's just 50 Cent. He's very childish. He's very immature, which is why I can't stand cancer men. Even as a cancer woman, I cannot stand cancer men. He acts like one. Cancer men are highly emotional. They're very effeminate. They act a lot like childish women, because I can't even say women in general, because all women don't act like that, but they just act like very immature, childish, overly sensitive women. That's how they act. I'll just keep it at effeminate men. That's just, it's just a bad look. Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, that's all I have on that. So next, I wanted to talk about LeBron James and Savannah. And I wanted to talk about this comment that he made on a podcast he went on. And I added the clip in here. It's a very, very short clip, but I wanted to let you guys hear it.
I think personally, me today, if I was not in a relationship today, I could not have a stay-at-home woman. It's not, like, for me, who I am at 40 and what I got going on, just coming home and just seeing somebody just sitting on the couch every day, just sitting there, just chilling, like, that wouldn't float for me.
Okay. So you heard what he had to say. He said if he were in a new relationship today, he wouldn't want a stay-at-home woman, because he would get upset if he came home and she was just sitting there chilling. And he said that as if stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives just sit home and chill, especially if they're moms. That's a full-time job for most women. And if you happen to come home and see them chilling, they most likely are just taking a break from working and running around the house, cleaning up the house, running after their kids. And so I found this to be interesting. And I don't hear a lot of the Black women who put this Black love couple on a pedestal really talking about this. And I find that interesting, because I guarantee that if LeBron James was a white man and he was married to a Black woman, and he came on here and said some shit like that, y'all will be telling Savannah that he don't love her and she need to run and she need to divorce him. But I noticed that the girls are extremely quiet about this, because this is like the model hypergamous relationship that the girls use to say, oh, this is what you want to be. You want to be like Savannah. But this is more proof that Black men, they aren't as traditional as they claim to be. And most modern men in general, but especially Black men, they want working women, ladies. They want working women. They don't want housewives. They don't want stay-at-home moms. They want successful women who make their own money, but they want them to also behave like feminine, submissive housewives. They want like a hybrid. They want a hybrid woman. They want a hybrid of a successful woman and a submissive woman, like and not to say that you can't be a little bit of both, but they want like an unrealistic hybrid, like a trad wife mixed in with a uber successful go-getter type Black woman. That's what they really want. That's what most Black men want, especially modern Black men, right? And they want successful Black women, but they still want to be the boss in their relationships. They still want to call all the shots. They're no different from the women who are feminists, but still like their men to have traditional qualities or traditional values. They still want their men to out-earn them. They still want men who can fix things around the house. They still want chivalrous men who open doors, you know. And this is why I keep saying that when both genders talk about wanting a traditional relationship, they're really talking about neo-traditionalism. They're really talking about a contemporary version of traditionalism. Okay. Modern men, especially, they do not want trad wives. I don't care what the red pill men and what the manosphere are talking about online. They do not want trad wives because they see them as lazy. You heard what LeBron said. He said, I don't want a woman who just, I'm going to come home and see her sitting around doing nothing. This is how they view women who are housewives and stay-at-home moms. So they don't want that. I don't care what you say, what they say online. And I like to bring this up anytime I hear Black men talk like this, especially prominent Black men, because they're selling this lie online. The manosphere, the red pill, they're selling this lie online that they want traditional women when they don't. Why don't they date a working man? That's actually hilarious. But yeah, they want 50-50, ladies. Don't let these men fool you, okay? But, you know, and then also, I think what bothered me about this the most, though, is that when men go on these podcasts to talk about who they would choose if they were single, and oh, if I wasn't married right now, I would choose this. It's giving that they settled and they're not fully content in their current relationship, okay? And somebody mentioned it in the chat, but there are rumors out there that LeBron cheats on Savannah frequently with white women. And I'm inclined to believe that, especially after this interview where he said this, especially after the statement he made about, oh, if I were single, I would. Men who talk like that, they're generally either cheaters or they're not, or they're not fully content in their relationships. And so I know a lot of Black women are going to think I'm reaching on this when I say that this kind of indicates to me that LeBron is either unsatisfied, that he's cheating, he feels like he's settled, he's not, fully satisfied with Savannah. But again, if LeBron were a white man and married to a Black woman and he came online and said this very same thing on one of these nigga podcasts, Black women will be saying, they will be dragging him all over the internet. And they will be saying how he's not in love with her, he's not attracted to her, this, that, and the third. And so I do feel like y'all give a lot of Black men passes, especially Black men like LeBron who have some money, who are very prominent Black men. You see this Black love couple, you give them passes, or you give him passes because he's a Black man. Passes that you would not give a white man. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people have been saying that he cheats on her. And I never really looked that much into it. I didn't really see any evidence of it. And so I was just like, oh, well, maybe it's true. But after I heard this, I was like, yeah, I'm inclined to believe that now. Yeah, Chrissy says him and his son love white women. Was there any proof that he ever cheated on Savannah with a white woman? Because somebody said that he makes the white women that he's with sign NDAs or something like that. How did people come to that conclusion? Was there something that came out that indicated that he was cheating on her with I want to know where the girls got that from. Yeah. Evan says, because what the fuck a married man talking about what he would do if he was single? Just embarrassing. I know Savannah is tired of his. Yeah, and it's if Savannah were to go on a podcast and be like, oh, yeah, if I was single, then this is the kind of man I would want. Black men will be dragging that lady for filth. They will be telling LeBron that she don't love him, he needs to divorce her, he needs to leave her. And I do believe that Savannah is like, isn't she like a businesswoman? Doesn't she have like multiple businesses and stuff? And so she's not even really, I mean, she's a working woman. She's not even a stay-at-home wife or a mother. Am I correct about that? Because I could have sworn like she has her own businesses and stuff. But see, if that's the case, if I'm right about that, that she has her own businesses and she's a businesswoman and she's a working woman, then that means LeBron he prefers a woman who's self-made. That's what he's saying. He prefers a successful woman that's self-made, that doesn't need his money to be successful. That's what he wants. And I really feel like most Black men want that. They lying if they say they don't. Oh, y'all remember that Selena said they dragged Aisha for wanting groupies. Y'all remember that? Aisha Curry. Yeah, and so that's what I'm thinking. Like Savannah probably started her businesses and built herself up as a businesswoman after she got with LeBron. And I'm pretty sure he was part of the reason. He was probably pressuring her to do something other than just be a wife and a mother. Just to be a wife and a mother. Like that's not work, you know? But yeah, so we as Black women, we have to be very careful about idolizing these celebrity Black love couples. Because just because the Black woman is hypergamous, it doesn't always mean that the Black man that she's with doesn't resent her for being that. Especially if they're Black women. You know, sometimes they'll be willing to have a kept woman if she's non-Black, but if she's Black, no, you got to work. Okay? You got to work. You got to bring something to the table. You just can't be a stay-at-home mom or a wife. You got to work. So LeBron just gives me that vibe because I'm pretty sure if the rumors are true and if he's cheating on his wife with all these white women, I'm pretty sure they're not successful. I'm pretty sure they probably not, you know, they don't have their own money like that. They're not business women like Savannah. And so that's another thing that Black men leave out of these conversations. Yeah, sometimes they want a trad wife, but they don't want a Black trad wife, okay? They want a trad wife that's non-Black. But if they happen to choose a Black woman, they would rather go 50-50. They don't feel like the Black women deserve to be kept wives or mothers. And that's the part of the conversation that the manosphere and the red pill niggas are not having. And again, this is coming from somebody who I'm not 100% traditional either. You know, I like a more neo-traditional setup too. So I'm not necessarily mad that men want that or women and men want that, but I'm not lying about it. That's the difference between me and these red pill men and these Black men online in the manosphere. They're lying about it. They're lying about wanting traditional women or trad wives. No, they don't want that. And if they do, it's typically not a Black woman. And so this is something that you need to know going in. And if you meet a guy, that should be part of your vetting process, especially as if you're like dealing with a Black man, you need to ask these kind of questions. Like if you eventually want to stop working for a while and be able to stay home after you have children, maybe the first couple years after you have children, because you don't want anybody else watching your child or your children. That needs to be a conversation you have with that man in the vetting process early before you have his children. Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with paying most of the bills? And let's just say you don't want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. You want to just maybe work part-time from home or something. But you want to stay home with the kids the first couple years. You need to make sure the man that you're with is okay with that. And he's not going to resent you for that. And that he also can comfortably support you and a family. Like that's all the things you need to consider during the vetting process when you're vetting a man. Yeah, most of them can't afford that anyway. I thought about that, Angel Coop. She said maybe he's soft launching his divorce. Maybe so. Yeah, because that when men do that kind of thing, oh, if I was single and if I would choose this type of woman, I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, they're not happy in their current relationship. Yeah, but you need to make sure that the man that you're dealing with is okay with that, because some men, especially modern men, resent women for staying home with the kids. Even if I've seen a situation where the woman, like, she had enough savings. She had her own money in her savings to live comfortably for a couple years, and she wanted to take off work to be with her son for a couple years because she just had a baby. You know, she didn't trust sending her son to the daycare and all that stuff. And she told her husband she wanted to take off a couple years, and you know, she would basically provide for herself from her savings account, and he said no. And he didn't want to allow her to stay home, even if when she was living off of her own money, because he viewed that as lazy. So sometimes men will resent you for doing that, even if you have your own money to live off of. That's some crazy shit. And again, these are the kind of conversations, like, I feel like all these conversations stop at a certain point and they don't go beyond what we're hearing online. Like, it's, oh, you want a trad wife, you want this and that, but you don't ever talk about how men are resentful of that position. And it's not just black men, but I think it's mostly black men who are resentful of that. Yeah, they don't see motherhood as being a job. Like, they don't see that, and even if it's not motherhood, they don't see domesticity as being work. They don't see that as being labor when it is. And so if that's what you're staying home to do, and they don't see it that way, they're like, oh, well, you're not doing nothing. You're just being lazy. You're just sitting around. And so you need to make sure that the man that you're vetting, that you're dating, if this is something you want to do, you need to make sure that he doesn't have that mindset. Chastity says, I think they want us to suffer like they mamas did. Yep. They saw their moms. They grew up, a lot of them, especially black men, they grew up seeing their moms struggle with 2, 3, maybe even 4 jobs and raising all these damn kids, cooking for them. Even though those women were straight up miserable, a lot of them, they like, oh, my mama did it or my auntie did it, so why can't you? No. And see, they also don't want to talk about how a lot of those women who did that, this is why a lot of them passed away from having strokes and heart attacks, why a lot of them had hypertension, had all these autoimmune diseases, because they were stressed out from doing all of that, overworking themselves, doing all of that labor. And they're mad that a lot of modern women don't want to do that. And they're like, hey, well, if I got to do all this labor anyway, what the fuck do I need you for? I might as well just be single. I might as well just be single and date, since you really, truly don't want somebody who's a traditional wife anyway. You know? So the girls ain't going for it. And that's why they're mad. And we've already talked about, and I keep repeating this in several videos because a lot of y'all need to hear it. When you talk about even 50-50 relationships, if you have a child with a man or children with a man, you're giving more than 50%. So you're working. You're also doing most of the raising of the children. And these are statistics, y'all. Statistically, this is what most women with children in relationships are doing. They're doing most of the labor around the house, most of the domestic labor. they're tending to the children more, they're cooking more, and they're working. And then we also have to factor in the emotional labor that women put in, which is usually more than men. So you're giving way more than 50%. That 50-50 shit is not even real. You're giving way more than 50%. It's more like 70-30, 80-20, if we're being honest. Like 70-30 is kind of generous. Jay says he's known for being cheap, barely tipped waiters back in the day. He settled, took forever to marry her after having kids, never seemed happy with her, married out of obligation. See, I didn't know all that. I never really kept up with LeBron and Savannah. They kind of just stay out the way. Maybe that's why you don't really hear a lot from them. But yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was cheap like that. I didn't even know like they got married after having kids. I didn't know that either. Wow. So Jay has said that he never seemed happy and married her out of obligation. Has he said anything else publicly about his marriage that sounded like suspect, like this clip I played earlier? Yeah, I think I heard that too. They've been together since high school. Yeah, now it's kind of coming back to me a little bit. So they were high school sweethearts. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to know though, like, has he said anything else? And see, this is another part of the conversation too that we don't talk about when it comes to the come up woman, and how some men who actually marry the come up woman and stay with the come up woman instead of like leaving her for another woman or their true preference or whatever. Sometimes the men who stay with the come up woman still resent her. They really wanted to move on and get somebody and get another woman who they felt was better than her, more ambiguous. In LeBron's case, possibly white, but they felt out of obligation that they had to stay because she's the come up woman, right? And so that's something else we don't talk about when it comes to that specific dynamic. The men stay, but they also resent the woman the whole time, and they're kind of treating her like shit. Not to say it always happens that way, but it can. So that's another thing you got to look out for in that whole come up woman dynamic. What you mean, LeBron? I don't know. Was he at Diddy parties? I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, that's what he said? Okay, he said death row. Like, ain't no breaking up. Like, welcome to death row. Okay, so it basically he's saying that he feels like he's obligated to stay with her even if he doesn't want to. That's what I'm getting from that. It's kind of like what Will Smith and Jada Pinkett said when they were like, oh, we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life, like taking that whole Bad Boys quote, but applying it to their marriage. That gives miserable, but I'm just staying because I don't believe in divorce. Like, that sounds like a miserable relationship. I'm sorry. Like, I get staying with the kids, or staying for the kids, but girl, like, we can kind of see that you're miserable. And so, again, I'm just bringing this up because, like, this is the black love relationship that a lot of black women idolize. I don't hear nobody talking about this shit. Like, LeBron does not seem happy. He seems miserable as fuck. That's what LeBron said? Ain't no party like a Diddy party? That what you saying? Who said ain't no party like a Diddy party? Alexa Simone says, so ironic that Ayesha Curry got dragged for her what if scenarios. And see, this is why this is why the girls are no longer romanticizing marriage. Because the married people, a lot of them just make marriage look so miserable. I swear. It's like, I'm looking at some of these couples, I'm like, dang, thank God I stayed single. Thank God I didn't get married when I was gonna get married, child. Because I know I would be divorced by now. Like, if I actually got married to the person I was gonna marry some years back, I would be divorced. There's no question about it. And if I stayed with him, I would have been in a miserable marriage too, just like these married people. But I just think that people just be marrying the wrong person. A lot of times they marry too early. It's just, I'm just saying, y'all married people, you're not selling marriage well, okay? Oh, okay. Patricia says, LeBron said it ain't no party like a Diddy party. Okay, well, how come black women aren't talking about this? So he done said all this shit. I don't hear black women talking about any of this stuff. If LeBron was a white man and he had a black woman, y'all would be talking about this. Why aren't y'all talking about this? I just think that's crazy. Well, I know that's right. Alexa says, I'm married and this black love is not struggle. His check drops in my account. I know that's right. She said she is not participating in no struggle love. Shout out to Alexis. Y'all are underrepresented in the mainstream. That's why I said, like, it seems like the women who are in happy marriages, they just quiet. They don't really say much, you know. Which Savannah don't say nothing for real. She don't. I think she's happy being kept, a kept woman. She just like, whatever, LeBron can do what he want. What the fuck ever, I'm getting paid, whatever. You know. However, LeBron ain't happy. And he out here embarrassing her. Like, if y'all gonna stay married just for the optics and for the children, shut up. You know, just be quiet. Stop going on these podcasts embarrassing your wife. She's not doing that to you. At least not that I know of. Has Savannah been on any podcast talking crazy? Doesn't she have a podcast now that I'm thinking about it? Has she said anything to embarrass him? I'm just curious. But I just feel like y'all just need to shut up. Yeah, Maka says, I hope she has a side nigga. I do too. Because this is crazy. Yeah, I don't think she gives a fuck either. Yeah. Court says she let him cheat in peace. Yep. And listen, if that's the if that was my agreement in the marriage, I think it should be another agreement. Yeah, you can cheat when you want, do what you want, but don't embarrass me. You know, just don't embarrass me. Don't be on podcasts talking about if you were single, you would choose this kind of woman. Don't embarrass me. That would be the agreement. Son says a bag is a bag. And you know, listen, I know that some women have that mindset, and I'm not, it is what it is. Y'all do what y'all do. However, again, and I said this about Anton, that guy who does the videos. I said that about him and his wife when it seems like, you know, they have an open marriage or whatever. But I just feel like even black women take a different stance when it comes to a black man versus a white man. Like, y'all be like, oh, a bag is a bag. Oh, I'm not saying this applies to the women in my chat, but I'm just saying I noticed that black women in general, when it's a black couple, a black love couple, and it's an open marriage, and the man is kind of doing what he want to do, and the woman accepts it because she's getting paid, y'all are willing to accept that more than you would if it was a white man with a black woman. Like, I notice when it's a black man and the woman is just there staying for the money, even though the man ain't shit, y'all be like, oh, well, she getting paid. She kept. What does it matter? She's cool. But if he was white, y'all like, say for example, this was, who's a good person? I can't really use Serena Williams because she makes more money than Alexis. What is that lady who is with that black woman who's with that man who I think he's the owner of South Park, the cartoon South Park. what is that white man's name? I forget, but I know that's and I think that's it may not even be him. It may be something else, somebody else. What's her name? Does anybody know her name? Anyway, she's a black woman, and I'm pretty sure she's hypergamous. Okay, Eve. That's a good example, Eve. Now, say Eve, we found out that Maximilian was cheating on Eve, and he had all these side women, and he came, okay, Melody, that's a good one. Melody Hobson, Matt Stone. Is that him? Matt Stone, is that the one with the black woman? Say if any of those white men who are married to those black women in hypergamous marriages, and their white men were cheating on them on podcasts talking about, oh, if I was single and I wasn't married, I would choose a woman like this. Oh, nothing like, what did y'all say LeBron said about Diddy parties? Basically praising Diddy parties. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Just imagine if this was a black man, or I'm sorry, a white man married to a black woman saying this kind of stuff. Black women would not be saying, oh, well, at least she's getting paid. At least she's kept, and a bag is a bag. They would not be saying that. Y'all would be dragging this white man. And y'all will be saying, oh, well, why is she with him? She need to divorce him. He don't love her like that. And y'all will be making a big deal about it, talking about how this is why you don't date white men. And this is why you can't trust white men. This is why you don't get involved with white men, because they use black women as a fetish and they don't really love them like that. It would be a completely different conversation. Completely different. That's all I'm saying. Now, if y'all kept the same energy and it was like, okay, a bag is a bag, no matter the race of man, then yeah, I would believe you. But I don't think most black women think like that outside of black men. I just don't. Yeah, that's kind of a good example. Yeah, they dragged Kayla for filth over Travis. Yeah, any black woman who appears to be using white men for money, even though that white man ain't shit, she's gonna be dragged. She's gonna be dragged. But when it's a black woman using a black man for money, then it's, oh, well, she's kept. She's living in the lap of luxury. It doesn't matter. All men cheat. They gonna do what they do. So you might as well get paid. I don't really hear a lot of black women having that perspective when it comes to interracial relationships. That's all I'm saying. And it seems like you would, being that white men, on average, typically have more money. It seems like you would understand when black women say, hey, I'm going to open my options to white men specifically because there's a higher chance that, he's higher on the ladder socioeconomically. He has more privilege. I want access to that. So that's why I'm going to be hypergamous and date out. Y'all be treating black women like that, like they're the worst people in the world. But when it comes to black women being hypergamous with a black man, it's, oh, well, at least she's benefiting from the situation. At least she's getting something out the deal. But y'all don't understand when black women do that with white men. Interesting. Very interesting. That's all I'm saying. Jay says, facts. Another creator said she didn't like a black woman being used for her body from an older white male hubby, as if black men don't do the same. All of them are users, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. Black women swear they hate being fetishized by white men. You don't think black men fetishize you? I know for a fact they used to fetishize me because I got a fat ass. That's fetishization, ladies. When a black man is just with you because you have a fat ass, or they prioritize that. Not to say that, men can't like thick women. Like, there's a difference. There's a difference between a man appreciating your thickness or appreciating your body versus them fetishizing you. And so black men absolutely fetishize black women with fat asses. And I picked up on that immediately when I was dating black men, which is why I never dated black men like that. If I picked up on them only talking to me or wanting to get to know me because of my body, I will cut that off immediately. But yeah, that's the same as white men fetishizing black women for being black or for being dark or whatever. And y'all don't seem to be as outraged when black men do it though. But when white men do it, it's like you just have all these fears. And listen, I understand, I understand because of the racial history in this country. I understand the fears. I understand the hesitation and the reservations you may have when it comes to dating out, especially white men. I completely get it. I'm not, ignoring the historical aspect to this. And a lot of black women, I think, are traumatized by that. However, a lot of y'all, because you don't hold black men to that same standard, or because you hold them at a lower standard than you hold white men and non-black men, that is how you're getting got by them. That's how you're ending up with men who don't really like you like that, who don't really find you that attractive, who are only with you because you have a fat ass. They don't think you're attractive, though. This is why you end up with men who aren't complimenting you. This is how a lot of black women, and especially dark-skinned black women, end up with colorist men, because you're allowing yourself to be settled for by men who are fetishizing you or who don't like you like that. And so if we truly believe the saying, because I know anytime we talk about interracial relationships, it's like men are men. All men do this and all men do that. And we shouldn't put one man over the other because they're all men. They can all be trash. Well, then you actually need to live by that. You actually need to have the same standards for non-black men that you have for black men that you have for non-black men. You need to have the same standards and stop giving these black men passes for doing some of the shit that you would never let white men get away with. If men are men, if all men are men. And see, me, I don't tolerate anything. I don't tolerate none of this shit from any race of men. I don't tolerate colorist black men. I don't tolerate racist white men or colorist white men or non-black men. I don't tolerate colorism or racism from any race of man. I don't tolerate fetishization from any race of man. They will get swiftly cut off if I pick up on any of that from any race of men. So I actually treat all men like they're men. You know what I mean? And y'all swear up and down when we have these conversations about interracial relationships that y'all vet all men the same. No, you don't. Black women actually vet white men more than any race of men, in my opinion. As a collective, we do. Because we're so scared of them being racist or, fetishy or whatever. We're so afraid of that. We're going to vet them way better than we do black men. Way better. And so that brings me to the next topic. Let's talk about this Ashlee Jenae update. So, and I did a video on Ashlee Jenae. I think I did a couple videos on her. So I'm not going to go over everything that happened. Most of you are already aware of her losing her life while she was in Africa with Joe McCann, who was her fiance at the time. And a lot has come out since this situation. Like, it's just been so much. But Joe McCann took to Instagram, and he's basically posting all of these receipts from Ashlee Jenae, her text messages, and, revealing all of her alleged struggles with mental illness. And I guess, they determined that she actually did unalive herself. Now, a lot of people were saying that they feel like the Zanzibar police paid off Joe, and all of them are lying and covering up everything. Now, I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if these receipts are made up or not. It's hard to tell, right? Because AI is a thing, okay? Some of these receipts could be made up, because there's one in here. Let me see if I can find it, where Ashlee Jenae is talking about unaliving herself. Yeah, it's this one. If you see in the left-hand corner, where she's basically saying, don't let anyone I don't like carry my casket. And this is supposedly before she unalived herself in Zanzibar. And she said, no attempt this time. Goodbye, Joe. So according to Joe, she's always struggled with mental illness and she's attempted to unalive herself before. Let me know in the chat, you guys. Do you think these receipts are real or do you think they're fake? Yeah, Dominique says she could have been suicidal and still been murdered. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, his behavior. And that's kind of what's making me side-eye it, because I don't like his behavior. Literally the day after she unalived herself, he was on Twitter posting stuff. So it's like you was like acting like you was unbothered. And then when people started blaming you, here you are showing all these alleged receipts. And again, I don't know if they're fake or not. I don't know. They could be real. But I just can't automatically believe him. I just can't. I don't know. But I do believe though that Ashlee may have had some mental health issues. I'll say that. Cuz just looking at some of her behavior, you know, I do believe that she may have had some mental health issues. Maybe she did think about self-harming in the past. I don't know. But it's a shame that the conversation about the legitimacy of all of these receipts is overshadowing the conversation that we need to have about mental health and Black women and how that can show up versus how we assume that it shows up or how we assume that it looks, especially on a Black woman. Because that's kind of it's a missed opportunity to have that conversation. But at the same time, it's like, is he telling the truth? You know? But let's just say that it is true. I do think that we even as Black women, we need to hold space for the Black women who are struggling with mental illness and acknowledge that it doesn't always have a look. You know, a pretty glamorous Black woman in luxury can be struggling with depression, right? She can be struggling with depression and mental illness behind her pretty pictures and videos online. And just like we talk about, you know, not automatically believing these relationships that we see online that look perfect, you know, these social media couples, we need to also stop assuming that a lot of these people don't struggle with mental illness too, or aren't struggling with their mental health. And I feel like we especially need to take this into consideration with Black women, because Black women are harassed and bullied the most online, right? Even when Ashlee was alive, she was being bullied by Black men just for being with a white man. Yeah, she was beautiful. Yeah, and so I don't know. You know, it's just it's a sad situation all around. But I do know that Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned women, are bullied the most, harassed the most online. And over time, that can take a toll on your mental health. And I do feel like a lot of Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned Black women, are suffering in silence when it comes to that. Even the beautiful dark-skinned women like Ashlee, you know? And that's why I'm such a strong advocate for dark-skinned women and girls, because I know there are a lot of them who are suffering in silence because of all the misogynoir and the colorist bullying and harassment. And that's why I go so hard against these bullies, y'all. That's why I don't play with them. I bully their asses back. Do you hear me? I bully their asses right back. See, I don't suffer from depression and all that shit. So I can fight the fuck back and curse the motherfucker out and go live my best life like I just didn't cuss the motherfucker out 5 minutes ago. Okay? That's me, okay? So I'm the perfect type of person for this kind of platform, because I don't have depression and all that. Now, obviously, I'm not impervious to the hate and the bullying. I have my moments, you know, I'm human, right? But I don't sit in that hurt for long. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people, I'll be hurt for a minute and I kind of get over it after a minute. You know, I get over things pretty quickly, thankfully, you know. And so, you know, for me personally, it's an eye for an eye. I fight fire with fire. That's what makes me feel better. it doesn't make me feel better to cry about bullying and allow it to destroy me or defeat me. No, I'm going to strategize. I'm going to play the game as a dark-skinned woman. I'm going to be self first. I'm going to live the life that I deserve. I'm going to, see the world as my oyster like everyone else. And I think Ashlee did to a certain extent, but she, if she did unalive herself, right, I think that maybe she felt like this was just this was the end for her. Like, and I feel like a lot of people who do unalive themselves or who do self-harm, like they go through a certain thing, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn because I don't have depression and all that, but it seems like the people who do this, it's like they think that one time is like, they think they're going to be in that space forever. It's like, oh, this is the worst time of my life. It's never going to get better. Like they don't give themselves time to get over that or to get out of that hurt or to move on from it. It's like, it's so unbearable that they can't fathom it ever getting better. And I wish that for any woman listening, any Black woman especially who feels that way, just know that it gets better. You know what I mean? You just need a minute to get over it. It will get better. And I just wish that Ashlee knew that. I mean, she was so beautiful. She had her whole life ahead of her. Like, it didn't have to end like this. If that's what happened. I'm just saying, if that's what happened. And I hope it didn't happen that way. But I could tell that she was struggling with some stuff. I feel that in my spirit. Even if he's lying about what happened, I do feel that maybe she was struggling with her mental health. And I hate that for her. I hate that it's just... It just makes me feel so bad looking at this story and looking at these receipts and looking at the state of mind that she was in after whatever argument they had in Tanzania. Yeah, it's the hopelessness. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He did cause her mental breakdown. He did. Because the authorities were saying, not the authorities, it was the hotel staff that were saying they had to separate them and put them in different rooms. What were y'all arguing about that was that bad where they had to separate y'all? What happened? And I feel like, he's kind of trying to paint himself as a victim. And he's like, oh, I almost died. And he was saying all this stuff. Like it's just... I just need more information. And I would also I just need more evidence that this is not like anybody can make these screenshots these days. You can go to ChatGPT and make any type of screenshot you want. Any type of document that you want that actually looks real. We don't know if this is real. And so I can't automatically just trust him and what he's saying. I can't. But... Yeah, it's a sad situation. I just would like to know, like, and what I didn't see also with these receipts is like, did he even mention what led to the argument? Maybe he did, because I didn't read all this stuff. I just kind of took the receipts for the video. I took screenshots of everything. I don't know. Liquid Sunshine says, did he have an insurance policy on her? I don't know. Yeah, Bubblegum Princess says, even professional grade IA scanners aren't always able to tell what's real from what's fake. Yeah, I don't know. Princess of Light says, I believe he's trying to reframe the situation by controlling the narrative. That's possible too. But yeah, I just feel like don't let these people get the best of you. And ladies, listen, if you are a woman who struggles with depression and you see yourself in Ashlee or whatever, again, just know it gets better. And if you found one guy that you think is a good man, you'll find another one. It's highly likely that Ashlee could have found somebody else right after this. So that's kind of how you got to think. And that's why I said, for me, what makes me feel better out of, when it comes to everything that Black women face, when it comes to the isms, when it comes to misogynoir, when it comes to, just the bullying and the harassment that we receive online, I'm all about transmutation. That makes me feel better. Transmuting the colorist harassment, the misogynoir. That's what makes me feel good. And sometimes even being a villain, and like I said, bullying back. Bullying the colorists back, bullying the men back who bully Black women. That's what makes me feel better too. And listen, I'm not saying that's always the best way to handle it, but that's better than being depressed and harming or unaliving yourself, if that's what Ashlee did. So I feel like, transmuting and strategizing and teaching other unambiguous dark-skinned women to do the same has been my mission for the last decade, so that they can take their power back and not end up like Ashlee. Even if she didn't unalive herself, like, girl, if she was a listener of my content, she wouldn't even ended up with Joe McCann. And so, and outside of listening to my channel, ladies, obviously I recommend that if you need it, get professional therapy, okay? Don't try to fight your mental health demons and fight through your mental health struggles alone. You don't have to be strong all the time. Don't be afraid to get help if you need it. And I think a lot of times with this, and this is why I'm not completely writing off the self-unaliving, because a lot of times, even as Black people, even Black women, we do tend to project the strong Black woman stereotype on Black women. Even those that we see online who are seemingly well put together, seemingly have it all together like Ashlee did. We saw her smiling online. We saw her, enjoying life. And we just automatically assume that she's happy, but she might have, severely been struggling with her mental health. And I think we as Black women, we need to hold space for the Black women who are struggling with mental illness and acknowledge that it doesn't always have a look. That's all I'm saying. And so I'm just leaving space for it to be. I'm not saying I believe in everything he's saying, but if she was struggling with mental health, I do think that we need to have that conversation as Black women. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I get it. Maybe statistically, it's unlikely that we would take our own lives, but it does happen. Not too long ago, what was that? Maybe a couple years ago, that little girl unalived herself, little Black girl, because she was bullied in school. So, I'm just saying that it's a possibility. That's all. And just think about that, y'all, before any of you decide to bully, especially a Black woman, and harass her online. Think about her mental health. That's all I'm saying. Don't automatically think, oh, she's strong and she's not going to unalive herself. You don't know that. And I forget that other Black woman too. And this also happened maybe in the last year or two. I think she was she had some type of hair care line or something. Not the one from way back in the day, because it was another one too, but it was a recent one. A woman, I forget her name. I think she had, even if it wasn't a hair care line, I think it was a makeup line, and she unalived herself. She's a Black woman. Is that who I'm thinking about? TT Branch, the founder of Miss Jessie? Maybe that's who I'm thinking about. Yeah, so I just didn't want to pass up this story and just assume that he was lying. I wanted to just talk about the updates and, just talk about it. It may have been a possibility that she was struggling with mental health issues. That's all. And because I don't think we need to skip over that conversation just because we think Joe McCann is guilty, And I also know, this is another thing I have to say, if this were a black man being accused of unaliving his fiance and he came out with these receipts, the entire black community would believe it. They would believe the receipts. They would be making content exonerating this man of any wrongdoing. And I do feel like the only reason a lot of black people and black women don't want to believe these receipts is because Joe is white. I don't think anybody would be questioning anything if he were black. Right? And the only reason I am kind of iffy on believing him is not because he's white, but it's because there's literally no way to confirm that anything he put here is real. Like, except for the pictures of him, Ashlee throwing out his stuff. Okay, that's real. That looks like her. This is his post. And y'all can go to his Instagram and look at all this stuff. Like, if you want to. But we don't, we can't actually confirm that any of this is real. I guess you can look up some of these tweets. And here's another thing. Now, if some of these receipts were fake, why wouldn't her mother and her father come out and debunk him? Like, why wouldn't her parents come out and set the record straight and be like, he's lying. She didn't have mental health issues. He's trying to make himself look like the victim. Like, why wouldn't they come out and correct the information if it wasn't true? So that's another question I have. There's just too many questions. Like, obviously, these pictures are real. Again, I question the text messages. I don't know. We don't know if there's literally no way to confirm any of that. And again, I'm not reading through all this. I'm just showing you. You can, if you're watching the replay, you can pause and read everything and just draw your own conclusion. You can come to your own conclusions. But yeah, I'm not saying that all of it's fake. I'm just more so questioning like the text messages and stuff. That's all. But I think that what really makes me believe that she was struggling with mental illness was some of the tweets where she was posting and she was like, oh, it's not like something about, it was like suicide is never the answer. And you never know. Like, a lot of black women were saying, oh, well, she wouldn't have posted that if she was suicidal. And I'm like, you don't know that. Maybe that was a post to like help herself not do that. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. You just never know. And so all I'm saying is that I don't want to completely write that off. That's all I'm saying. But I thought there was a picture. Maybe I forgot to add that one. It was like maybe I'm confusing the tweet with the text. Yeah, I think I am, because there was a text in here. And again, we don't know if it's real, but there was a text where she was texting one of her friends or something. And she was saying, oh, well, it's not like you're going to find me hanging in a closet or something like that. And she was allegedly joking. But I'm trying to find which one it was. Hold on. It wasn't this one. I'm looking through my phone because I can barely see on my computer. Let me know, do y'all think these text messages are real? Okay, it's this one. Let me see. Did I have that one in here? Yeah, it's this one right here where if you see, and who is she talking to? This is allegedly from 2023. And I think this was from one of her friends, right? Because this looks like one of her friends, color formula. And she says, you okay? Or he, I don't know. And she says, yeah, you're not going to find me hanging in my closet or anything. She said, I'm going to have to do a wellness check on you. This is Malcolm. This is another alleged friend. And this is why I said this looks real to me. I don't know if y'all agree with that, but these screenshots in particular look real. And so it's like she was kind of joking about unaliving herself. Yeah, Chris says, I think they're real ones mixed with fake ones. A little bit of truth and some lies to confuse people. Maybe so. Yeah, see, I don't believe all this is fake. I'm not just gonna write everything he posted off just because he's white and I think that he has something to do with her death. No. Some of this was real. And this in particular looks pretty real to me. You know, her talking to her other friends. And this is why I said, like, and I just get, my intuition is telling me too that, you know, she was struggling with some stuff. And honestly, I felt that way in the beginning, but I didn't want to say that in my original video. I did say in there, I think I remember in the first video, I said, if she did that, if she did unalive herself, I can, you know, I have my theory as to why. And I said in that video, but I'm not going to talk or speak on that until it's confirmed that that's what happened. Because, you know, I kind of had that little feeling then, like, you know, she was maybe struggling with some mental illness. But see, I was being respectful because it wasn't confirmed. I wasn't just going to be like, oh, she unalived herself, because I didn't know. And I still don't know. But yeah, I don't think this particular screenshot is fake. Yeah, and that's kind of what is weird to me too, his initial response. That's why I can't completely, you know, I'm not gonna get up here and apologize to him, be like, oh, we were wrong and Joe McCann is innocent. No, no, we still don't know that because he was acting real funny after it happened. So yeah. So yeah, you know, I think two things can be true. You know, she was potentially struggling with some mental health issues, mental illness, and potentially wanting to unalive herself at moments, you know. And it can also be true that he had something to do with her death. Like, I think two things can be true at the same time. And I just think that Black women, I think you need to ask yourselves and be honest with yourself. Just like, you know, I just kind of talked about with LeBron and Savannah. If he were a Black man, and you don't have to answer in the chat, but just be honest with yourself internally. If Joe McCann were a Black man and he presented these receipts, would you believe them? And if you're more inclined to believe a Black man, then you got some work to do. That's all I'm saying. Because again, I know that the community, if this were a Black man, it would be all type of follow-up videos. Black men and on their videos, on their channels, they would be analyzing all these texts and they would be like, oh, she unalived herself and y'all blamed her Black man for doing this and shame on y'all. That man is innocent. There would be no questioning these receipts at all. Okay, as long as y'all are consistent. I wouldn't believe a Black man either. And I would especially not believe a Black man. Why? Because they unalive Black women the most. And that's another thing that, you know, like I talked about in my last two videos about Ashlee Jenae. Of course, you know, we can talk about it. You know, we can talk about when a Black woman is unalived by a Black man. I think it should be talked, or a non-Black man. I think it should be talked about across the board. But the next time, or the next several times, that a Black man unalives a Black woman, like, y'all need to make just as much noise. Like, you need to have just as much outrage about Black femicide as you do, or I'm sorry, it would be called inter or intra-racial femicide. You need to have as much outrage for interracial femicide as you have, or I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. You need to have as much outrage about intra-racial femicide as you do interracial femicide. And I don't see that even from Black women. I don't see that from y'all. And a lot of y'all, when I was doing my videos on Ashlee Jenae, y'all got mad at me for saying that, but it's true. Like, there's never this much outrage when a Black man unalives a Black woman. And that was my reason for bringing up all those intraracial Black femicide stories. Because there was not even half the amount of outrage for those. And so if Black women only feel the need to be outraged when it's an interracial femicide story, then how much do you really care about Black femicide? Like, really, truly. Because if Black men are unaliving you the most, then you should be talking more about that. Because let's just be honest, even though this situation is horrific, and let's just say Joe McCann did have something to do with Ashlee's death, like, this is a very rare situation compared to all the Black men who unalive Black women. So, I mean, this, compared to how often it happens in Black relationships, like, this is a very rare situation. And so being that it's so rare and y'all, the community was so outraged about it, it's like, it came across as fake outrage because it's like, y'all are never this passionate about intra-racial Black femicide. So it's not lost on me that with this situation, a lot of this is fake outrage. And I think that we need to call that out. Yeah, but see, that's a problem. Divested from Blended Earth says we are desensitized to Black femicide from Black men. Black femicide by white men is a rarity. It's like dog bites man versus man bites dog. Yeah, but like, how do you get desensitized? How do Black women become desensitized from Black femicide from Black men? Like that, I don't know. That's not something I can ever be desensitized to. Especially if it's happening more. Yeah, I guess repeated exposure, but that seems like it should be more traumatic if it's repeated exposure. That seems like you should be more worried about Black men and white men if it's, happening more with them. Yeah, that's what I think it is. I think it's propaganda and social conditioning. Like, Black women are socialized to believe that you're automatically going to be safer with Black men when the statistics don't show that. Yep. Jazz says because violence is normalized in Black American culture. Yep. That's part of it too. Yeah, and so listen, like I said, I don't mind Black women being outraged by this, but I think that we just need to keep the same energy. That's all. I'm willing to talk about it all. But if I see y'all not having the same, being as passionate about intraracial Black femicide, then yeah, I'm going to call it out every time. So yeah, but that's it. Rest in peace, Ashlee. I don't know if Joe McCann is telling the truth. I don't think we'll ever know what really happened, which is sad. And I think, again, I have to bring this up again. If Joe McCann did do this, then the authorities in Zanzibar are helping to cover it up. So that's another thing that I don't think enough of y'all are talking about. The white man may have assisted in this, but he's getting help from the authorities to cover this shit up. The authorities in Zanzibar, and they are Black men. And so that's not something I think we should be skipping over either. Because a lot of y'all got mad at me when I brought that up in my video too. I don't give a damn. If you gonna talk about it, talk about it. Call everybody out. Hold everybody accountable. And if you think that Black men are automatically safer, well, why the hell are these authorities in Zanzibar covering this shit up or helping to cover this shit up? Why was Joe McCann allegedly able to pay them off if Black men are so much more protective and safer? See, that's when y'all arguments start to unravel. Because if they're so much safer and so much, more protective of Black women and they're so much safer to be with, then no amount of money should be enough to cover up the unaliving of a Black woman by this white man. So again, if we're going to have the conversation, let's talk about it all. Like, y'all can't convince me that you care if you're not willing to have the whole conversation. So anyway, that's that on that. And the last thing I want to talk about is this situation with YG. Let me find my screenshots. YG, the rapper YG, he released a song about a trans woman not disclosing her identity before sex. And I don't know if y'all heard this song. I'm not going to play it, obviously, because I don't want a copyright on my video. And that first clip I played too, I didn't know it had music to it. So if I end up editing this video and that part is cut out, I apologize. But I can't play like copyrighted stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to play the song because it could be, it could give me a copyright strike, but it was basically a very violent song about him catching, or about, I guess, him being tricked by a trans woman. I don't know. And, when I saw this, I just thought that this is clearly YG admitting in a roundabout way that he's trans amorous or trans attracted. And I think more Black men need to come out and be honest about what they like and live in their truth, because it's 2026. Okay. There are tons of people who will accept them for who they are. Okay. And now shit, it's Black women that will still date men who are gay, who are trans amorous, who are bisexual, whatever. So in my opinion, it's no reason for Black men to be in the closet anymore, unless they're trying to like prove something to other Black men, I guess. But this whole excuse that they're trying to give, like, oh, Black women won't accept them and that's why they're in the closet, that's why they're DL. For the most part, that's bullshit, especially modern men, because a lot of Black women are accepting that now. Not to say that all Black women accept it, but a lot of Black women are. So there's no reason for Black men to be in a closet at this point. And I feel like Black men need to be more comfortable being out like this and being themselves and letting the girls know up front, like, yeah, this is what I like. I date trans women, whatever. I date men. I'm bisexual. I'm trans amorous, whatever the case. So Black women can choose whether or not they want to deal with LGBT men. Okay. And yes, these men like YG are a part of the LGBT. They are not straight. Okay. And yes, straight Black women are allowed to have a type and not prefer LGBT men, just as everyone else, including trans women, are allowed to have a type. Because trans women, they don't prefer men that are gay. Because let's be clear, trans women prefer straight men, which is why they have so much animosity towards biological women, because they're in competition with us for the same men. But they're so delusional that in their minds, they think that the men who deal with them are straight just because they deal with biological women too. No, these men are on the spectrum. They are on the LGBT spectrum. Okay. Just like the women who, settle down with men, but they hook up with women on the side or hook up with women here and there, but they choose to settle down with the man. Yeah, those women are on the LGBT spectrum. They are not straight. Okay. And I noticed that a lot of masculine women and studs like young MA, I don't know if y'all saw when she came out talking about how she prefers straight women. Ma'am, those women who are fucking with you are not straight. I don't care if you're the first woman they've been with, they're not straight. But I noticed that masculine women, trans women, it's like they're delusional in the same way. Like they actually think that they're dealing with straight people. And they want to believe that because it strokes their egos to feel desired by people who, you know, don't normally date people of the same sex. You know what I'm saying? It makes them feel just as good or legitimate in the eyes of society as, in young MA's case, a man, and in trans women's case, biological women. You know, it's very delusional, misogynistic thinking. And I noticed that both trans women and masculine lesbians, they think that way. It's a lot of cope happening, okay? And it's interesting to observe as a logical person because it just comes across as mental illness. You know, like they just seem out of touch with reality. You know, they seem like they're trying to cope with life by creating their own fantasy world instead of just seeing the world the way it is. You know, if a man fucks with a person with a penis, they're on the LGBT spectrum. I don't care if you initially came across as a woman to him. If he then decides to still sleep with you, even though he knows you have a penis or you were born with one, he's transamorous at that point. He's on the LGBT spectrum. He's not straight. And so that's the category I would put men like YG in. But I noticed that trans women seem to be very quiet about this, which is why I kind of wanted to talk about it. They seem to be very quiet about this, trying to, like, you know, really not say much about this. And I find that to be interesting because could you imagine if this were a biological Black woman rapper or a celebrity, a Black female celebrity who was speaking or rapping like this about a trans woman? Because again, I'm not going to play the song, but it was very violent and I added some of the lyrics. And this says, you know, he was talking about how the trans woman told him I'm trans right before they were about to have sex. And then he goes on to rap about how he's going to unalive the trans woman. He's like, I got voices in my head telling me to leave him dead. Ops talking about they got money on his head. And look at all this. Click, click, bow. Might pull me a trigger. Just like that, murder me a nigga. Could you imagine if this was a Black female rapper rapping about a trans woman in this manner? Could you imagine? He's literally rapping about thinking about unaliving a trans woman. But if Just Hilarious comes out and says anything critical of trans women, said, hey, you know, we want to keep our spaces to ourselves, all hell broke loose. And what Jess said, it wasn't even violent. She wasn't talking about unaliving trans women or anything. But they misgendered Just Hilarious. They called her ugly. They still dragging her to this day for that. When that Black woman came out and said that she changed her mind about having a gym where trans women could come and, you know, join the gym and it was for just biological women, trans women dragged that lady so much that she came back crying online. Why aren't trans women dragging YG right now? Where are the videos? Where is the outrage for this? This nigga literally is talking about unaliving y'all in a song. Like, but I thought that's what y'all cared about. I thought that's what y'all cared about. Trans women getting unalived by these quote unquote trade men. Where is the outrage? Because anytime a Black woman merely misgenders a trans woman, all of a sudden the Black woman looks like a man. She's fat. She's ugly. She's everything else. The trans women look better than her, this, that, and the third. Where is the smoke for YG? And so this lets me know, ladies, that trans women, especially Black trans women, they care more about being desirable to men like YG. They care more about that than these men actually unaliving them. They care more about biological women clocking their tea to trade like YG more than they care about their own safety, more than they care about their own unalivings by these men. And this is why I don't take them seriously when they use their unalivings or the unalivings of trans women to guilt Black women out of criticizing them. Because they never have that smoke for the men who are actually unaliving them. And in this case, rapping about potentially unaliving them. I just don't see enough outrage. It ain't enough outrage for me from the trans community. Not with the way y'all be dragging biological Black women for calling you a man. Because I thought that that's what this was all about. Because anytime a biological Black woman criticizes the trans woman community, that's the first thing they say. Oh, you're adding to the harm and you're making it okay for these men to unalive us. Okay, fair. And then when these men rap about unaliving you, you don't have shit to say. Yeah, it's fake outrage. This is why I don't take them seriously. And because I knew what it was about the whole time. Y'all like being desired by these men. That's why you won't leave them alone, even though they're unaliving you. And this is why they talk more about being desirable and attractive to men like YG than they do about these men unaliving trans women. It's very telling. The response to this situation is very telling to me. The lack of outrage, the quietness from the trans community, very, very telling. Because when I heard about this, I was like, oh, this is like, they about to go off about this. Nope, ain't heard hardly nothing from them. And the couple trans women that I heard speak on it, they're like kind of tiptoeing around it a little bit. They're like, oh, well, he's trade. He likes the girls. He likes the dolls. That's what they're saying. They just want to be desired by them. That's what this is about for them. And even the whole conversation they're having about, you know, and which I'll probably get into another video and I'll bring receipts, but now they're pretty much blaming biological Black women for DL men. They're blaming biological Black women for DL men. And they're saying, oh, it's because you don't accept them and you force them to be DL. You force them to hide in the closet. So just like the males that they are, they're trying to find a way to blame us for Black men not dealing with them openly. We can't control these niggas doing nothing else, but you expect us to be able to control them and make them not be on the down low. It never even crosses their mind that maybe they're performing for other men. Maybe they're performing for society in general. Maybe it has more to do with that than actual Black women shaming them into being down low. And you got stupid Black women actually agreeing with the shit and repeating the shit. Oh, yes, because you don't accept them. Ladies, and I feel like Black women are so slow when it comes to trans women because you don't realize what they're doing. What they're really saying is they're not really saying to you, oh, make these men feel comfortable so they can live in their truth and, you know, it will be less violence against trans women. That's not really what they're saying. What they really want you to do is be okay with the men fucking them and fucking you and fucking on them too. That's really what it is. They want you to be okay with that. And they're upset that some biological Black women are not okay with it. They're upset because we have preferences, a lot of us, for men who are not transamorous, men who are not bisexual. But again, they can like straight men. They can prefer straight men, right? The what do they call them in the gay community? They complain about the butch queens. I think that's what they're called, not liking the trans women because they complain about like feminine men not getting a lot of play, how the gay community, the gay male community likes masculine men over feminine. So they could have their preferences all day long, just like most males. Like most black males have preferences. Straight black males, they prefer light-skinned women. They prefer mixed race women. They prefer thick women with fat asses. Like, they're allowed to exclude and have preferences. And anytime black women question it, it's like, we're allowed to have a preference. You're trying to guilt us into liking something else. Why are black women trying to guilt black men into liking this and liking that? And the minute a black woman has a preference, all of a sudden, we're all of these phobias. All of a sudden, we're contributing to the unaliving of trans women. All of a sudden, we're contributing to DL culture. And listen, I'm not saying that none of that is true. But what are you contributing to with your preferences? And why aren't you talking about that? Why, and where's the outrage when niggas are literally releasing songs talking about unaliving you? If you're so concerned about the unalivings of trans women, if that is your main concern and it all boils down to that, why isn't there more outrage about this? And this is why I don't believe them. And they're all over the internet talking about how black women, biological black women, are just so male identified, and we're still fucking on the men who we say disrespect them and all this stuff. Well, y'all are too. Y'all are too. Y'all still fucking on trade. You're still fucking on DL men, even though they're unaliving you. So what makes you any different from biological women? Nothing. But you want to be treated like you're special. That's not going to happen. You're no different. You can't run behind transphobia and transfemicide or whatever they call it. You can't run behind that anytime your misogyny is being called out or your misogynoir is called out. That's not how this works. You're going to be held accountable for your bullshit too. And if you can't control these grown-ass men from unaliving you, and you're a male, you were born male, what makes you think females can control them? What makes you think a woman can control a DL man? So if you think about it, they're just resorting back to their typical male nature and just blaming women for everything. And everything is about how they look better. Everything is about looks, if you notice, with them too. Just like the typical male. Everything is about, oh, we look better than you, and trans women do this, and trans women got this, and we're more feminine than you, and the men like us more than you. And it's like, we don't even have to be having a conversation about looks, and they bring it up in every conversation. Very male-centered. Very much male-centered. And this is why I can't take them seriously. This is not about femicide for most of them. This is about desirability. This is about having more access to what they identify as straight men, when those men are not straight. I don't give a fuck what they say. And black women also, let's just keep it a buck. Black women also don't have to roll out the fucking red carpet for bitches who are competing with them, whether it be trans women or any fucking body else. Like, in what world do you expect us to do that? You expect us to make these men feel comfortable about being attracted to you and be okay with you, with them sleeping with you, while they're also sleeping with us and having children with us. Like, would you allow that? If you were a biological woman, would you allow that? It's one thing to say, okay, yeah, we're cool with men who are, trans, amorous, bisexual, attracted to everything. It's one thing for a woman to say that. That's fine. If that's what you're cool with, then whatever. And I think a lot of women are, especially in 2026. Like, a lot of women are okay with men who are sexually fluid. That's becoming more common now. And so that's fine. But what these trans women really want deep down, and this is not what they're saying. It's not what you think a lot of them are saying, oh, just be cool with them dating whatever, the quote unquote straight men. No, what they really want, y'all, is to take your place. They want you to be okay with the men choosing them over you. That's not what they're saying, but that's what they're implying. It's not a situation to where it's like, oh, we're just going to share these men and all, be all one happy family. No, they're competing with you, y'all. They're competing with you. They basically want you to be okay with them competing with you, disrespecting you, negatively comparing your looks to theirs. Be okay with your man or your baby daddy or whatever fucking them behind your back. They pretty much want you to be okay with that. And if not fucking them behind your back, they want you to be okay with these men just openly being with them and you at the same time. And sorry, trans women, we don't have to accept that. Just like you're allowed to have your preferences, Black women are allowed to have theirs. And this goes beyond Black men, by the way, because even Black female swirlers, a lot of us we don't want men who are on the LGBT spectrum. We don't want that. And we're allowed not to want that. Black women can have preferences like everybody else. You're not the only people allowed to have preferences. Sorry, not sorry. And again, we don't have to roll the red carpet out for you. That's not how this works. And I kind of feel like too, like Black women are the only people expected to do that. Have y'all noticed that? It seems like Black women are the only people expected to literally roll out the red carpet for people who are outwardly and very directly competing with us. And then if we don't do that, then we're haters, we're jealous, we're insecure, but they wouldn't do that for us. It's like they want us to put people who are competing with us on a pedestal almost. Like, yeah, I think I'm better than you. I know I'm competing with you. I know I want your man, but you should still put me on a pedestal anyway. And if you don't, you're jealous, you're insecure, you're a hater, you're transphobic. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's stupid Black women out there who are doing it. Like, they're actually doing it. They're actually rolling out the red carpet and leaving room for themselves to be replaced. It's crazy to me. And they'll keep lying to you, y'all. They'll say, oh, we're not trying to replace you. We're not. Yes, they are. Like, it's the way they talk. You can tell. You can tell. Anytime you're talking about another group of people and you're making yourself superior to them and you're speaking about them as if they're beneath you, you are competing with them and you're trying to replace them. You're trying to present yourself as the better option. That is what you're doing. So a lot of these trans women be tricking y'all and they be trying to make it seem like they're just trying to get along and be sisters and no. It's a competition for them. And that's the issue. That's the only issue I have with them. If it wasn't for that, I would be cool with them. But you're not allowed to come in my space or come in our spaces that we have for ourselves and dictate things. You don't get to control us prioritizing our safety and our needs and our plight first. You don't get to do that in spaces that are for us, because we can't come to your space and prioritize our issues as biological women. We can't do that. We have to prioritize your issues. Trans people have their own spaces. The LGBT has their own space. And so I don't understand why Black women can't have ours as well without being called some type of phobic. And even if you call me phobic, I really don't give a shit at this point. Like, I'll be that. I'll be a TERF. I'll be phobic, whatever. Because like I said before, I've learned that, in order to prioritize yourself as a Black woman, you're going to be considered some type of phobic. You're going to be considered a hater. You're going to be considered jealous, bitter. That just comes with the territory. If you're not being a mammy for other groups of people and you're not putting their plight over your own, you're going to be called some type of phobic. You're going to be called some type of jealous, bitter, whatever. That just comes with the territory. So at this point, if you're not being called that as a Black woman, then you're probably not putting yourself first. You're probably not putting your interests first as a Black woman. I'm just saying. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Nikki said, because we've been inclusive for so long. Yeah, they're not used to us making the separation. They're not used to us being self first and putting our needs and our interests first, like they do. And they're extremely territorial. just like regular males. Like, because again, we don't have these issues with trans men. Notice that trans men ain't trying to replace men, and I think a big part of it is because men aren't going to allow that. See, they bank on women and our empathy and our inclusion and our compassion. And they've taken advantage of that, especially when it comes to Black women. And so now they feel entitled. Like, Black women have helped create these monsters. And now they're acting just like, at this point, straight Black men. Or I'm sorry, hetero cisgendered Black men. They're acting just like them now. They're focused on looks, you know, talking about your looks, dragging your body parts, talking about how you stink. They're blaming you for everything at this point. Anything that Black men do, they're blaming you for. How at this point are they any different from heterosexual cisgendered Black men? How are they any different from them at this point? It's the same exact behavior. So no, they'll never get a pass for that shit over here. I'll be transphobic. I'll be a TERF. I don't give a fuck. Because I'm not going to walk on eggshells for them. I'm not going to be gaslighted. And I'm not going to allow them to pretend they're not doing the shit that they're doing. And again, the difference in outrage, if you like are literally dragging Black women for misgendering you more than you're dragging a man like YG, who literally is rapping about unaliving you in a song, yeah, I don't take nothing you say seriously after that. It's giving the typical misogynoir coming from males. Like, that's what it's giving. And I, for one, I'm not going to be quiet about it, and I'm not going to stand for it. And I'm calling that shit out. I don't care. I'm not scared like a lot of these Black women. I'm calling your ass out. And I don't even hear the Black feminists talking about this shit. I don't even, like, where are the Black feminists talking about YG and his song against trans women? I don't even hear the Black feminists talking about it. But the minute a Black woman is quote unquote transphobic, here come the Black feminists spanking us on the hand and correcting us and telling us we wrong and we need to stop with the language. And where is all that smoke for YG? So it's like, y'all are not beating the male-centered allegations. You're not beating the mammy allegations. Because the only reason you're not saying anything about this and you aren't as outraged about this is because it's a Black man. That's the only thing that makes sense. That's the most logical conclusion. Because this is where a Black woman should be dragged for filth. Especially a Black woman on the same stature as YG, an actual celebrity, a mainstream celebrity, rapping about unaliving a trans woman. We would not get away with it. We would not get away with this at all. Lexiana says, scary asses. They have more smoke from women. They have smoke for women, though. Yeah, always. Because they know they can get away with it. They know they can get away with it. And see, that'll be their excuse. That'll be their response to this. If they respond to me, they'll say, oh, well, trans women are afraid of these men because they unalive them. They're afraid of them. And they're scared, and that's why they don't respond, because the patriarchy. Okay, so why the fuck do you think we can control these niggas and not make them DL? If you can't control the way they speak or rap about trans women in a fucking rap song, and you're scared to address that, then how the hell do you expect us to control if men or Black men are DL or not? Do you hear what you're saying? So basically you're saying we have more control over these niggas than you do, and you were born male. That's crazy. Yeah, I saw where the DL Whisperer was out of jail. And look, I'm going to say this too about him. I feel like some Black women, y'all caping a little too hard for him too. Like, he's a weirdo. I mean, and how much you want to bet he's still dealing with trade too? He's still dealing with DL men too, y'all. I understand you like him because he was exposing the DL men, you know, but he's a weirdo and he's a stalker too. Like, because even though I don't really fuck with T.S. Madison, why was you pulling up to his house like that? And you stalking that that's weird. That's weird, y'all. And so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I question how much he fucks with black women too. Like he has his own vendetta against trans women. And that's his issue. But I think it's a little delusional for y'all to think that he's just doing all of this for biological black women. Like, it's cool that he's exposing, DL men. I get it, but y'all, not too much. Like, y'all be giving him way too much, in my opinion. Yeah, and then I think any level of stalking is weird. Like, I don't care if you don't like a person online. When you start pulling up to their house, that's weird. And to my understanding, he has a history of stalking. Yeah, very, very weird. But something I found interesting is like, I've heard the trans women talk about how they would fight a biological woman and how they would whoop a biological woman's ass. But you call the police on a butch queen. That's interesting. You call the police on a man. You scared of that nigga, but you'll fight a woman. Yeah, I just feel like all this shit coming out about the LGBT and just their behavior, and it's not even new. I've been talking about this for years, but just their behavior towards women, towards black women in particular, should let you know that they're not real allies, y'all. They're not. And I think that's my whole point of this conversation. They're not. This is crazy. Yeah, Kira says it's not only weird, but scary as well. Yeah, it is. And I feel like a lot of y'all, unfortunately, black women, it's like we automatically think some of these gay men and trans women in the LGBT, you think they're automatically your allies. And it's like, no. They're not. And I'm not saying that some of them are cool, some of them are cool. Some of them understand, and, their commentary, I can agree with some of them. But for the most part, they're going to put them and their interests first. And I'm not even saying that's not what they should do. But if you notice that they're doing that, then you should also, as a black woman, put yourself first the same way they do. And that's all I'm saying. That's it. It's like, I almost feel like black women, I don't know, it's like they're going to have to come to an awakening the same way we did when we realized that white feminists were in it for themselves and they really didn't include black women in their feminism, or the same way that people of color, that term people of color, like the Latinos and the Asians, when we finally realized that when they said people of color, they really weren't including black people. They were just using us to fight on their behalf. I kind of feel like at some point black women are going to come to the same, and I feel like we're kind of coming to that awakening now when it comes to specifically the men, the black men in the LGBT community, specifically gay black men and trans women. I think we're kind of coming to that realization now that they really aren't allies like that. But I think more of us are going to come to that awakening in the future. A lot of us aren't there yet. And a lot of us see it, but we're scared to say something because we're scared of being called homophobic and transphobic. That's another thing. Like, a lot of y'all agree with me, but you're scared to say it because they've scared you into silence. But over here, we ain't never scared. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Yeah, everybody, and that's what I was gonna say too. Like, I just think that it's not that they can't be allies, but you just have to vet people on an individual basis. It's not no, this group with this group, and we're all just gonna come together. That shit is dead. You can have allies, but you're gonna have to. It's like a la carte. You're gonna have to pluck them from the group individually. It's not no, oh, this community and that community, and we need to come together. No, that's not what they're doing for you. They may say that, but they're not actually operating that way. They're not actually operating in your best interest. And the fact that now we're starting to see the gay community actually start blaming Black women for their problems, that should really tell you all you need to know at this point. And they're also say that they're not doing that, but they really are, because they'll say, oh, well, we all need to look at our role in the DL culture. Trans women need to look at their role. But then when you read the comments, right, and you actually see what they're saying, they're mostly putting most of the blame on Black women and Black mothers, not the actual men who are DL. Not the men and the trans women they're creeping around with, but the actual women. They're pretty much putting the blame solely on Black women and Black mothers in particular. And their whole narrative is that because, we're so homophobic, we're forcing these men in the closet. And I'm telling you, that narrative is going to continue to get pushed. They're going to keep being louder and louder about it, to the point to where it's just going to be blamed on us. And again, if you read through the comments of the videos that they make like that, especially on TikTok and Instagram, and you see these trans women like, oh, well, yeah, trans women play a role too. The gay men play a role too. If you read the comments, it's not about trans women. It's not about gay men for the most part. They're blaming Black women in the comments. So, and it's little stuff like that I feel like Black women don't pay attention to. Like, we just kind of hear what they're saying, but we're not reading between the lines, and we're not actually looking at the takeaway from the collective or from the audience of people that follow them, which are mostly made up of like the LGBT and trans women and gay men specifically. Like, we're not actually reading what most of them are saying, and they're not saying, oh, trans women should stop fucking with trade. That's not the primary topic of discussion when they're talking about DL men. They're not like having round tables talking about why they should stop fucking with trade. For the most part, when it comes to DL men, they're talking about how women make them uncomfortable to come out the closet, all because we don't have a preference for them. And no, you don't get the excuse of lying and sneaking behind people's back. You don't get to blame that on women just because we're not attracted to that. Black women can't sit up here and lie and live a double life and deceive people just because somebody don't like us. We don't get to use that as an excuse. Oh, well, he didn't like me, so I had to lie to him. I had to deceive him. I had to hide myself. We don't get that fucking excuse. But DL men get that excuse? No, these are grown-ass men. They're grown-ups. Hold your own nuts. Stand in your truth, even if some women don't like it. So what? They don't like you. They don't have to like you, just like you don't have to like every woman. That doesn't mean you get the right to lie and cover up your lifestyle. That's not how this works. And so just like Black women aren't coddled in this community, I'm not about to coddle no grown-ass men because he's scared to come out. He want to be DL because he's scared of a biological woman not wanting to fuck with him. No, nigga, grow the fuck up. You're a grown-ass man. Again, we can't use that excuse. Just because somebody don't like us, we're going to lie and live a whole double life. No, we don't get to do that, so you don't either. Grow the fuck up and be a man. That's how I feel about it. And until you're able to give Black women grace, when it comes to some of the decisions that we make, then I don't want to hear it. And I feel like that's what this community wants us to do. it doesn't matter what kind of man it is, whether it's a straight man, a DL man, a gay man, a trans woman who was born male. Y'all want to be coddled. Y'all want to be coddled, but you don't want to give Black women the same courtesies that you expect from us. No. If we aren't allowed to be coddled, if we have to hold our own, if we have to be held accountable for everything we do wrong, regardless of what influenced that decision, then you niggas have to do that too. We're not about to be coddling these grown-ass males, okay? Males. We're not going to be coddling grown-ass males. Get over it. Hold your own nuts. Yes. I said that earlier, Carmela. They blame us, but it's really about your male approval, not us. Precisely. A lot of them a lot of it is them performing for other men. And they'll blame that on us too. Oh, well, you raised these men. You raised these men. That's what they say the most. Oh, you raised them. Okay, and what about the men who also contribute in raising them? Because remember, Black men are the most involved fathers, right? So what about the men? And my thing is this also, if you're that concerned about DL men, why don't you stop sleeping with them? It's the same way with Black women, right? This is what I tell Black women. You know, to a certain extent, you're not going to be able to control men. So you want to control what you can control first, right? You want to do what needs to be done for you first, which is protecting your womb, being more selective, not sleeping with these niggas. So where's your accountability in that, trans women? And again, they claim to be saying that, but then when you look at their commentary, when you look at their audience and what they're saying, they're putting it mostly on Black women. They're not saying, yeah, I don't sleep with Trade for the most part. They're not saying that. They're not saying what they can do to stop these men from being DL or whatever. They're not saying that. And then they're mad at the man, the gay man who's exposing the DL men. Well, I thought you said it was a problem. So why are you mad at the gay man for exposing DL men? Again, DL Whisperer has his own issues, but at the end of the day, if you don't want these men to be DL, why are you mad at him for exposing them? Yeah, Liquid Sunshine says like we're Atlas or something holding up the world. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, and some of this is on Black women too. Like I think a lot of us try to take control and we try to make it seem like we have more power than we do over Black men and over the Black community. And this is partially why I be telling y'all, stop feeding into that stereotype that, you know, the Black woman is so strong and she can do all things and Black girls are magic and stuff, because it really does translate to that for some people. Like, we're just here to save everybody and you can just make anything happen and we can control people. No, we can't. I mean, if we could control Black men, we wouldn't have as many complaints as we had about it. It's like, we can't even control how they treat us. How are we going to control them being DL? And really, that's what they're saying. Like somebody just said, how, you know, it's like we're upholding the world on our shoulders. Like, it's almost as if they're saying, you know, Black women can control like patriarchy, but when it comes to them, they're just operating under patriarchy, right? They're just like these perfect little angels that aren't doing anything wrong, and they're being just destroyed by the patriarchy. But then Black women, when it comes to us, we don't get that same courtesy. They don't talk about us in the same manner. It's like they expect us to control the men in the patriarchy. But when it comes to them, they can't control them. So why do you think we can? Like, and I guess that's my problem. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. If you can't control them, how can we? And I want a serious answer to that question. Oh, and a lot of them do think it's funny. DL and married men are their fetish. They love laughing at women and saying, "I took your man." Yeah, I mean, they get a kick out of that. And that's why I said, like, they'll sit up there and say out of their mouths that everybody's responsible for DL culture, including trans women, but girl, they still participate in it. They ain't willing to give up trade. They're not willing to give that up. Yep. Liquid Sunshine says Black men don't want to dismantle the patriarchy. They want more access to it. Yep. So I don't take any of these people seriously. They're selfish. They look out for themselves, and they resent Black women for doing the same. And that's really what it is. They want us to follow by these rules that they don't adhere to. And over on this side, I'm going to tell Black women not to do that shit. It's a setup. It's a trap. They're lying to you. And they want this one-sided coddling, one-sided loyalty that they're not giving back to you. So I just don't believe in Black women following that shit. Yep. Best way for us to control patriarchy is to drop birth rates, let them plummet. And a lot of women are doing that. I think I saw a stat where they said, I'm pretty sure I shared that in another video, a statistic where it said that women in general are having less children. The birth rate is going down. And I'm pretty sure, obviously, it has, there's economic reasons behind that. The economy is bad. There's political reasons behind that. But it's also because, women just aren't feeling it. Like, we're not feeling the males, a lot of us right now. And if we are dealing with men, we not willing to have their babies. And I was never willing to have, I was never willing to pop out a baby for a man. And we're realizing that it's just too much work and it's not enough. It's a thankless job. Being a mother is a thankless job. It's too much sacrifice. It's too much work. And so a lot of women are opting out, or they're waiting until, to have children later in life. So, yeah, I think women are making smarter decisions now. Not saying that all of us are, but things are definitely shifting, that's for sure. And so, that is how women in general have some sort of control. Because at the end of the day, you are the person who controls who gets access to your womb. You control that, not men. And so that's the one thing you can control. And women are exercising that control. But I'm saying if that's what we have to do, right? And we can't control men in other ways. Like, I don't understand why we're being, especially Black women, why we're being treated like, we can actually control these men and what they do. Like, we can't. The only thing we can control is ourselves and our bodies. And I don't understand how I'm being asked to control these grown ass men when you can't even control them. That's crazy. So yeah, you got to be careful of allowing people to put responsibility on you as women that's not yours, or more responsibility on you that they put on themselves, or more power than they put on themselves, or than they have themselves. Like, girl, like I just, that's crazy to me. And Black women, you also have to be mindful of, again, what I said about, not making yourself come off more powerful than you are. You're not magic, okay? Yeah, we're the blueprint, but we're not gods. I understand we like the saying the Black woman is God. And spiritually, I get what you guys are saying, but be careful with that, because motherfuckers really gonna treat you like you're God. Okay? And if you don't want the responsibility of God, then stop calling yourself that. But what I will not be allowing people to do is put the responsibility on me for controlling grown ass men. Like, I'm not about to do that. Not another grown ass adult. Like, you got to let these men hold their own nuts and be responsible for themselves. Like, fuck that. I'll handle what's in my control, and you let these niggas handle what's in theirs. And you start talking to these men if you want them to change. Stay out of my face, because I can't control every little thing that they do. Just like you can't, I can't either. And so, Black women, you need to stop letting people put this responsibility on you that it's not yours. That responsibility is not yours. I don't care if they're your sons or not. You can raise them. And that's another thing. Black women are expected to like raise their sons and raise them into men that beat all the odds and go against society as a whole. And that is unrealistic to me. Like, you can raise your son to be the perfect man, to not be homophobic, to not be transphobic, and he still grows up and he's around other men that influence him to be all of those things that you taught him not to be. At that point, it's out of your control. So I think that's another thing that we're not willing to talk about in these conversations. Like, when is it ever going to be up to the men to change and to help other men be better men? When is it going to be up to the men? And why are we as women, or people who date these men, why are we not holding them accountable and putting them to task? Everything is not your responsibility. Everything cannot be the woman's fault. Grow the fuck up, especially with these Black men, y'all. Y'all got to stop babying and coddling these men. You need to stop allowing them to blame everything on their mamas. They're grown-ups. I'm so sick of these men being infantilized. It's disgusting. It's sickening. It's up to them, especially when they're grown, to be good people. And I'm tired of Black women being expected to raise these grown ass men. Like, the fuck out of here. Who do y'all think I am? Like, hell no. So, and I think that's really what it is. These men, like they say that the women raise the men. I think that's why a lot of them are very effeminate, to be honest with you, and why they think like women, a lot of them, and why they blame women on everything, or blame everything on women. They want to say that it's our fault that they act the way they do in terms of BDL and all this stuff. But no, I think it's Black women's fault for making them soft as fuck. I think it's Black women's fault. And I say that because a lot of us give them too much empathy. And again, we coddle them. We treat them like children, even when they reach the age of adulthood. And I think that is actually the problem. Not the fact that we're teaching them to be DL and all the other shit that they're complaining about. No, I think we're actually teaching a lot of the men when they're young, especially to blame Black women for everything. Really, I do. I think that's part of Black women's fault. Because we're coddling the fuck out of them. We're treating them like babies when they're grown. So that's the part I think that Black women can do better at. Stop coddling these men, including your sons. If they're men, stop coddling them. Stop treating them like babies. Let them grow up. Wean them off the titty when it's time to wean them off the titty. Because this is ridiculous. This is why they're out here acting like babies, like they can't think for themselves, like they can't do anything for themselves. It's disgusting. It's such a turnoff. At this point, I don't see how some Black women are even attracted to Black men. It's just like some of them are just so effeminate and they act like fucking babies. It's just, it's so unmanly. It's such a turnoff. So unattractive. Mm-hmm. They're baby boys all the way to adulthood. Yes, they are. And when I say effeminate acting like babies, I'm not talking about the gay ones. I'm talking about the straight ones. The ones who swear up and down they're so masculine. That's the ones I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the ones who are naturally feminine. I'm talking about the masculine men who claim they want to be patriarchs and they want to be the leaders and all this stuff. And how you gonna be the leader and you can't even take accountability for your own actions? How are you gonna be the leader when you blame your mommy for everything? When you blame women for everything? How are you the leader at this point? And this is why I said a long time ago, when you think about it, Black men act a lot, or they behave and they talk a lot like feminists, if you think about it. Because it's like you're pretty much putting all the onus on women to help you be a better person, to guide you, to help you make all the decisions that you need as a man to function in life. At this point, you're leaving all of that up to women. So you're basically agreeing with the feminists that the women should be in charge at that point. So what's the point of arguing with them anyway if you think that women are going to be, or women are in control of everything that you do and are responsible for anything bad that happens to you? If everything is their fault and you can't think for yourself, and with Black men, everything is either the white man's fault or the Black woman's fault. So if you're not at fault for anything, then how are you fit to lead? And basically, you're saying that women should be in charge. Women and white men, basically. Black women and white men. That's pretty much what you're saying. If nothing can ever be your fault, then that's what you're saying. So at that point, you might as well just shut up and just fall in line with feminism then, with the feminists. That's how I see it. Yeah, I agree with that. How are you going to protect and provide and you like basically waiting on women to show you how to do that? That's the way I take it. Like, you can't do anything on your own. You need Black women to write you an instruction manual. That's how I see it. Like, it's like they want us to write them instruction manuals. They want us to tell us everything that they need to do. If something goes wrong, it's all our fault. It's because we didn't say it. We didn't instruct them. We didn't guide them. Well, then you're basically saying that Black women are the leaders. That's basically what you're saying. And so if we are the leaders, then girl, you need to be right along over there with them feminists talking about creating a matriarchal society, because that's pretty much what you're advocating for at this point. That's all I'm saying. And I think people need to be honest about that. Both well, not even, I was gonna say both men and women, but yeah, Black men need to be honest about that. That's pretty much what they're saying. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, I have some other stuff I want to talk about later on. Like I said, I'm trying to get more content in, whether that be, live stream. Whenever I get a chance to pre-record some videos, you'll get those too. But I definitely want to get more content in. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, I don't know when I'm going to be able to go live again, but hopefully it'll be soon because I do want to talk about some other stuff. Or I don't know, maybe I will try to do a pre-recorded video. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Again, my schedule is chaotic, so I don't know. But this was a good conversation. You can send all of your topic requests to askchrissy@gmail.com. And I did announce on my Instagram as well as the community tab that I will be deactivating my Instagram just because I just don't use it that much. So I don't really see the point in having one, so. And plus it gets kind of messy over there because y'all are sending me like video requests and it just becomes a little bit overwhelming to like sift through everything, especially when I'm not using that platform for really anything except for like posting video updates and stuff like that. It's just, I don't see the point of it. So I am deactivating it. So for those of you who follow me over there, if you ever want to send me any video requests and you've been sending them on Instagram, you're going to need to email those requests to me at askchrissy@gmail.com. And y'all know how I am. If I decide that I want to use Instagram again for like uploading videos or something, then I'll reactivate it. But yeah, I am about to deactivate it though. Because I'm the type of person, I don't like Instagram. I don't like TikTok. YouTube is my platform of choice. I don't really like Facebook like that. I know it's good for YouTubers and influencers and stuff to like be visible on every platform, but girl, I don't like none of the platforms, okay? So I know I'm probably doing myself a disservice by not being on other platforms, but girl, I don't have the time. I don't have the desire to keep up and juggle with multiple platforms. So I'm just honestly not going to do it, at least not at this point in time. So I apologize for everybody who wants to see me on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I ain't going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. Not right now. Okay. But yeah, so just heads up, I am deactivating Instagram probably tonight at some time after I get off here. So yeah, send all of your requests to askchrissy.com or askchrissy@gmail.com. Make sure you like this video, share, and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for your support. And I'll catch up with you in the next one. Good night. Love you.